Go through 300 years of history and look for all the black people that fit the description you just said.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family.
The numbers don't add up. The Cosby Show star Malcolm-Jamal Warner is said to have drowned in Costa Rica while attempting to save his daughter. But hold on, Cat Williams doesn't believe it. To be honest, you shouldn't either, as his recent statement of Malcolm's passing completely contradicts the story. It's more than just a tragedy. It could be a cover-up, one intended to silence a man who was trying to escape the industry's hold, or worse, knew too much. And if what Cat claims is true, then someone wanted him gone severely. Watch closely, because Cat made a shocking comment that could potentially explain why Malcolm was never expected to survive. You won't ever view this story the same way after hearing it.
It's the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time.
What if Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death wasn't just a heartbreaking loss, but a warning? A sign of something far darker happening behind Hollywood's closed doors. Tonight, we peel back the curtain and what we found will change the way you see everything. The headlines hit like a thunderclap. On July 20th, 2025, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, beloved actor, director, and musician, was gone. According to reports from the Tico Times, Page 6, and Decider, Warner had been in Costa Rica, enjoying a beach day at Playa Grande de Cocles when tragedy struck. A sudden, powerful rip current pulled him into deep waters. Despite frantic rescue attempts by lifeguards and bystanders, they couldn't bring him back. The autopsy was clear accidental drowning by asphyxiation. But amid the chaos, one early detail spread online like wildfire. Some claimed his young daughter had been in the water with him. That was false. She was safe on the shore the entire time. Watching events unfold from a distance, no child should ever have to witness. But here's where the story takes a turn. Nobody saw coming. Just days after the funeral, Malcolm-Jamal's wife broke her silence. And what she said left people shaken. She revealed that in the weeks leading up to his death, Malcolm had been unusually tense, almost paranoid. He told her he'd been getting strange phone calls late at night. Calls where no one spoke, but the line stayed open long enough to make him uneasy. And then came the threats. Not just idle online comments, but messages that hinted at knowing exactly where he'd be, who sent them. She wouldn't say, only describing them as coming from powerful figures who could make someone disappear without a trace. Her voice cracked as she said, "I don't think this was random." And suddenly, what was once called an accident didn't feel so simple anymore. But here's where the internet refuses to let this story rest. Whispers are swirling, some coming from deep inside the industry. Old grudges, going back decades, suddenly being dug up. And then there's the work Malcolm had been doing lately, projects that weren't exactly safe in Hollywood's eyes. Some fans point to recent interviews where he hinted at feeling watched, at knowing too much. Others swear there were warning signs, cryptic posts, uneasy smiles, moments where it seemed like he was holding something back. And while officials call this a freak accident, there's a corner of the public that isn't buying it. They believe this wasn't random at all, but a message. And then, nothing. Hollywood, a place that can flood social media with tributes in seconds, suddenly went quiet. No major memorials, no big-name speeches, just silence. Some say it's respect, others think it's fear, because the few who did speak up, their words felt rehearsed, like they were reading from the same script. No raw emotion, no outrage, just carefully polished statements that told you everything and nothing. It's as if the industry wanted Malcolm gone from the headlines as quickly as possible. And for many fans, that silence was the loudest red flag of all. Then came the moment no one expected. Malcolm's wife, her voice trembling, stepped forward, not on a red carpet, not in a talk show chair, but in a quiet, almost hidden interview. And what she said sent chills down everyone's spine. She revealed that in the days leading up to Malcolm's passing, the phone wouldn't stop ringing, not with condolences, with threats. Anonymous voices warning her to stay quiet, to forget what she saw, to move on. She didn't name names, but she didn't have to. The way she described them, powerful figures who could erase anyone, was enough to set the internet on fire. And in that moment, the tragedy surrounding Malcolm didn't just feel suspicious, it felt dangerous. But her words opened an even darker chapter, one filled with enemies Malcolm never spoke about in public. Because deep inside Hollywood's polished smile is a battlefield. And Malcolm had been in the crosshairs before. Old grudges from deals that went bad, whispers of producers who never forgave him for walking away from certain projects. And let's not forget the roles he turned down, scripts some say were career suicide to reject, but that Malcolm believed were traps. Then there were the projects he did take, bold, controversial work that exposed industry hypocrisy and ruffled the wrong feathers. It wasn't just business, it was personal. And for those who hold grudges in this town, patience isn't about forgiveness. It's about waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And as the news of his passing spread, so did the whispers. Some claimed it was nothing more than a tragedy, but others weren't buying it. Rumors began swirling about old industry vendettas, finally catching up to him. Stories about quiet warnings he'd been given, cryptic messages, sudden cancellations, people in his circle suddenly going silent. Then there were the conspiracy threads fans, dissecting his last interviews, pointing to strange pauses, knowing looks, and words that sounded almost like goodbye. A few even connected dots between his recent projects and powerful figures who might have wanted them buried. Of course, none of it was confirmed, but the timing, the history, the shadows, it all felt too perfect to be coincidence. And in Hollywood, when the truth hides behind closed doors, the theories only get louder. In his final days, those closest to him say there was a change. He was quieter, more guarded, like a man who knew something was coming, but couldn't say it out loud. Friends recall him canceling dinners at the last minute, skipping events he'd already promised to attend. His smile's still there, but slower to appear and gone just as quickly. One insider claims he confided that he was tying up loose ends, though he never explained what that meant. Even his last public appearance feels different now. The way he looked into the camera, almost like he was leaving a message we weren't meant to understand until later. And when you replay those moments, knowing what we know now, it's enough to send chills down your spine. The moment the news broke, it was like a lightning bolt through Hollywood. Phones started buzzing, group chats exploded, and social media timelines turned into a storm of grief, confusion, and suspicion. Celebrities who had once shared the stage with him posted emotional tributes, but the comments under those posts, brutal. Fans were questioning everything. Why now? What aren't they telling us? Every old interview, every cryptic Instagram story, every tense red carpet moment was being dissected like evidence in a criminal case. And while tributes poured in publicly, behind the scenes, there were whispers that certain people were scrambling to control the narrative, to make sure their names never got tangled in this mess. But it was too late, because the truth, whatever it was, had already slipped into the cracks of the internet. And when the news broke, it didn't just ripple through Hollywood, it exploded across the globe. Fans flooded social media, posting clips, photos, and emotional tributes, each one more heartbreaking than the last. But alongside the grief came the questions, sharp, relentless, and impossible to ignore. Major networks rushed to cover the story, yet the details seemed incomplete. Friends of Malcolm spoke in guarded tones during interviews, carefully choosing their words like they knew more than they could say. His closest collaborators went quiet, avoiding the spotlight altogether. Meanwhile, hashtags demanding justice started trending, and online forums lit up with speculation. People weren't satisfied with the official explanations. They wanted the truth, and they wanted it now. This wasn't just the loss of a beloved actor. This felt like the opening chapter of a much bigger, darker story. And the chilling part, many believe that story is still unfolding. Once that happens, there's no burying it.